Good evening, friends. We are back for another live chat session. This is number 5 of our series. And as you know, if you've been following us, we've been chatting to bands from both cities of our Metal for Africa 2022 festival, which is happening in Cape Town and Joburg on the 3rd of September. Um, Tonight, we're going to be chatting with a band who's been around for, I think, about 20 years or so. We'll find out more about that soon if my timeline is accurate. Um, but for now, my friends, I'd like to introduce you to Sean Olsen of Ill System. How are you doing, my brother?
Sorry, bad timing.
Caught you in the act
How's
there.
it? Yeah. Hey, Pat, how you doing?
I'm great, my friend.
Good.
Yourself? You staying warm enough in this freaking chilly winter
Yeah,
weather?
it's
Hey? What's
uh,
happening?
it's pretty chilly, but I'm heading off to England tomorrow.
Oh, for the heat wave. Okay,
Yeah,
that's well
exactly.
timed.
Yeah, it's not every day that a South African goes to England to get good weather.
No.
But yeah,
But it looks like you got some red wine there to keep yourself toasty, eh?
yeah, this is the winter drink of choice.
Nice. Not
Um,
not old brown sherry.
yeah. In the earlier days,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Those
yeah,
livers aren't so robust as they used to be.
no, no, they're not. Refined our palates a bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, look,
Yeah.
speaking of the earlier days, I mentioned a moment ago to our listeners that I believe Ill System is at the 20-year milestone. Is this fact or fiction?
Uh, that yeah, sounds about right. I think, jeez, that's such a long time ago.
Yeah.
I want to say, I mean, we started in probably '99.
Oh, for
I
real?
think that, yeah, and then I mean, obviously, we took a pretty long break. Like I think it was probably 10 years.
Yeah,
So there was a big gap in between.
yeah.
But the band's been going in some kind of form since yeah '99, 2000,
That's
which is
amazing, man.
yeah just after left school.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, well, that's
still going.
now, I mean, that's like a longer period of time than most people spend it in, like, not only school, but their tertiary educations as well. Like,
Yep.
yeah, no,
I
that's
mean,
remarkable.
we've got some people listening to us that haven't even been alive that long. So,
Yeah, yes.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I think you and I met at a very early on. That was around 2000, maybe 2001.
Yeah, yeah, to be around there. I would place it 2001 or maybe 2002, but yeah, yeah. But it's
Okay.
murky,
Yeah.
after all these years, it becomes a bit a bit murky.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that show and where it was and how I felt seeing it. So I'm gonna confess to whoever's watching now that, like, yeah, I've personally been a bit of a Ill System fanboy since like day one. And I think to have you guys coming and playing on this festival, which is not your first time either, you've played, I think, about 2 or 3 previous ones, hey,
I think this
over the
might be
long
our
years.
third. I think this might be the third.
Could be, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because you only played Metal for Africa since you sort of like came back on the scene,
that's
so to
right.
speak.
I think it was 2015. Um, yeah, and that was kind of we had done one or two reunion gigs, and then the bug bit again, and then yeah, I think 2015 was the first time we played Metal for Africa,
Yeah. Well,
and I mean that's why yeah we just love doing it. So
if you
it's
don't
an honor
mind,
to do.
I'd actually like to trace that timeline a little bit because you guys have a pretty interesting story too. Hey, uh, I wouldn't mind to dig
Yeah,
into that a little bit. But
you'll have to forgive me. My long-term memory is it's a bit short.
don't
Uh,
worry, I'll fill in the gaps.
yeah,
Like, I think with our powers combined, I mean, look, we
we could probably get through it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So it was early 2000s. You first came up on my radar when you played in my hometown of Somerset West, and yeah, that blew me away. So I had to get in touch and kind of build a connection with you guys for future references. Um, but then, kind of as Ill System was actually getting some really good momentum here in South Africa, um, you guys went overseas for a while. You went to the UK.
Yeah, that
To,
was 2005, 2006, and yeah, I mean, we wanted to take it to the next level, which is obviously you got to kind of broaden your horizons
Oh, wait.
and go overseas. So yeah, we hit the UK. We based ourselves in Cardiff. Um, our guitarist at the time, Bobby, like, he had family there, so it was kind of like a base. And yeah, we spent 2 years trying to crack it. We had a lot of highs. Um, played some amazing gigs, played some festivals, won a very big battle of the bands, like international
That was
kind
the
of.
Emergenza, hey? If I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
so that's right. And we won the. So it's like it happens in a whole lot of countries around the world,
Yeah,
and we won the British one,
yeah.
and then we went to represent England.
That's kind of weird, but kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it was nice to be four South Africans like representing England.
Yeah,
That was cool. And yeah, I mean, we were there for 2 years. Ended up not work. I mean, it was an amazing time, but our visas ran out. Myself and Ramon. The other two guys, Bob and Owen, were had British passports.
yeah,
So Ramon and myself had to come back, and uh, Bobby and Owen were pretty settled at that point.
yeah.
So yeah, the band kind of split up then.
Bummer.
Um,
But that wasn't going to be the end of
yeah,
the story.
no, no. Well, surprisingly, when I got back, I was kind of like I felt like I was done. Put in a lot of effort, and I was just kind of over it.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, kind of convinced to do a gig. I think when Bobby got back from UK, and at this time I wasn't really up for it. Um, practiced a bit, did a few, yeah, we did a gig, and I was back in it. Just
yeah,
loved
yeah.
it.
I remember that gig. That was
Um,
at Mercury Live, if I'm not mistaken. I forget who it was
yeah,
with, but I
yes,
definitely remember where it was.
yeah, it was Mercury Live.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just a feeling of doing that with that band. It's a certain sound that I just love,
yeah,
performing on stage. So
yeah.
that's why it's still going.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone who has actually seen you guys perform so far will kind of understand what this bug is about. Whereas those who haven't yet, yeah, well, you guys are in for a treat if you haven't seen Ill System play yet. Don't miss Metal for Africa on the 3rd of September. Um,
That's
but
right. Don't miss it.
yeah, but I remember always kind of when watching your show, because I mean, I come from a metal background, which is probably a lot more like traditional and rooted in extreme metal. So when you guys came out of the woodwork way back in the early 2000s, I must admit that I was actually quite blindsided because I had a, what do we call it, like a bit of a preconceived view on what good metal was supposed to be. And it did not include what you guys actually brought in
Yeah,
front of me. But when it was in front of
that's
me, I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker. And I've always enjoyed when watching Ill System at a show where there's an audience who most likely hasn't seen you before, and watching the reaction of the crowd, you know, from from those moments of anticipation before the band starts playing to about the time the first chorus drops. That for me personally is always the most enjoyable time to actually just focus more on the audience than on watching you guys play. And I just have to add, one of my highlight memories was I forget the year, but when Fear Factory played in South Africa, you guys supported them at the Assembly in Cape Town.
yeah, yeah,
And I think at that show in particular, like, I mean, Fear Factory had a very old school and like long-standing fan base, and a lot of these people had never heard of Ill System before. And I think during your sound check and like watching the band get on stage with like djembe drums and like, yeah, I think you had a Telecaster guitar
yeah.
on
I was wearing
stage there.
shorts.
Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah,
you could almost smell the judgment in the room.
yep,
But yeah, by the time that first chorus dropped, that whole club was just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. So if
yeah.
that's any indication of what people can look forward to. So
Well,
tell
thanks,
me about
thanks. I just
tell
wanted to, on that point quickly before
yeah,
we we changed tact. It reminds me, we did a gig, yeah, it was 2005, 4, somewhere around there.
Uh-huh.
We actually did a tour to Joburg, and we played this gig in the most metal club I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Like you would have been lightweight metal there compared to what was going on. They actually had like there was the VIP room was also like a torture room,
Yeah.
like S&M room, and the night before they had like pentagram stuff going on there. So everyone there was dressed in like spikes,
Yeah.
and it was a proper metal gig, and I was dressed head to toe in white. Had my djembes there,
Yeah.
and we were pretty close to getting like kicked out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just on looks
And
alone.
yeah, we hadn't even played a note,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of judgment. And first, by the end of the first song, everyone was into it,
Yeah.
and the amount of people that came up to us afterwards and said, you know, this is not really my normal scene. When I saw the djembe, I was like, oh, these bloody hippies from Cape Town,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, there's something in the music
Yeah.
that's universal.
Ach, it speaks to
Um,
people, man. It speaks to people of all walks.
it's an energy. It's about having a good time, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think, Sean, I would like to hear from you, may, maybe to discuss a little bit like the 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 creative source. Like, where where does this vibe that you guys do come from? Like, if you had to try and describe what it is that you actually do, how would you go about describing that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, at this point, I think the, it's not like any of us inform how ill system sounds. It's almost the other way around. It's like ill system has there's a sound there that informs what we do. So, like we've had a few members come and go, um, and people will come in and bring their flavor, but it's almost like doesn't matter who comes in. There's an energy there that gets dictated to
Yeah,
everyone. Like this is the sound. So that's kind of hard to explain. But I mean, yeah, we grew up in like we started in the what you'd call the new metal
uh-huh.
era. Um, when I was at school, like Corn were just hitting the
Yeah.
scene. Um,
As you say,
and
like
that
99 and thereabouts.
yeah, and that completely blew my mind because I kind of yeah before that there was the grunge scene and the metal was more like thrash metal and that, and then just this like halftime drop tuned, like it was the heaviest thing that I'd heard,
Yeah,
and that really grabbed me. It's like, okay, heavy doesn't need to be fast in that;
yeah,
it can be groovy, and yeah, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's kind of. And then I met Bobby and Owen, and they were on the kind of a similar
yeah.
wavelength at that time. So that's kind of how it started, and then there's a lot of other elements that come into Ill System, like people know that there's like reggae vibes in there.
Yeah. Which is fucking
There's
nuts.
yeah, so
But it works.
I think it works. It's not like we sticking like taking reggae and then we taking metal and just trying to smash them together. It's more of a yeah, they work together the way we do it. And yeah, to be fair, I think the reggae side of things is definitely my there's a lot of my input.
Yeah,
Um, my folks grew up, oh, I grew up listening to reggae
yeah.
from my parents, and yeah, and then there's hip hop as well. That's kind of a big influence on me. I love rapping and that, so chuck that in. And then yeah, it's all about energy. It's about coming with the gears.
Oh, where? And if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, you mentioning like the sort of more hip hop side of your own musical roots. Uh, Listening to the material you guys released in, if I could go so far as to call it the earlier iteration of Ill System, you know, pre pre-Wales or kind of around about the
Yeah.
time of moving to the UK and Wales, versus what you've created since like reforming the band. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's always that ill system goodness in there, but I feel maybe like I'm hearing a little bit more of the Sean Olsen that you've just described. Would you say that's true?
Uh,
You know, if we think of songs like what's that? I think Holy War starts with like a bit of a groove, but it's not like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, look, I think also technology's changed a bit. So, I mean, now some of the newer songs, I'm kind of sitting at home on a computer or keyboard and stuff, uh, and that might be the genesis of an idea of a song.
uh,
Whereas, I mean, back in the early 2000s, there's no such thing. You just got into a room,
yeah,
and it normally starts with someone smashing the drums or a riff, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So some of the songs now have started with some samples or keyboards. So maybe that's kind of what you're speaking to.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I
I think
guess.
notwithstanding, you've always had quite an interesting blend of stuff in your music, not necessarily always like conventional instruments. Like, I mean, having the percussive element has been there as long as I can remember. Um, but I remember at
Well,
one time you guys used to have this like weird little like oscillator thingamajig.
yep.
Whatever happened to that device? You lose it in the UK.
Good question. Yeah, someone needs to someone needs to own up to what happened to that.
Oh no.
I don't know, but yeah, I think it's somewhere in the UK still.
Oh boy.
Um, but no, actually, what happened was so when Eel System first started. I mean, it's before it even was called Eel System.
Uh-huh.
I went for a jam with these guys, and I wasn't the vocalist. I was gonna go there and be the DJ.
Oh wow.
Because I think Limp Bizkit were at that time, you know, kind of big, and
Yeah.
but I didn't have turntables. I didn't have the equipment. I was just like,
You just
don't
had the
worry,
kiss.
yeah, like I'm your guy,
Yeah.
and I knew I could contribute whatever it was. I would be able to give something to the band. So I rocked up there with a with a pair of bongos and a little Casio keyboard like this size thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm just gonna add some shit, and then yeah, it like already
But
by
it's
then it
stuck.
was like stuck. And then I had a vocalist at the time, and then he wasn't up for it, or something happened, and then they like phoned me like, "Do you want to be the vocalist?" I
Yeah.
think I'd done I think I'd done a few screams when or something when he was away.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then
So maybe
that
that's what happened. You actually happened. You walked in there and he just felt like, nah.
no, actually, he's a better singer than me, but
Yeah.
yeah, I bring other elements.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, man.
yeah.
So tell me then, with the upcoming Metal for Africa show, I believe you have had another member change again, and you've actually got like kind of like a South African drumming legend now in the band, old Art Pereira.
Drumming
Um,
legend or drumming slut,
yeah,
depending
yeah, a
on
bit
you.
of both there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a
Um,
bit about the transition of having him come and join you guys? Because I believe you've played at least one show already with him. Hey.
yeah, we've played. I think it's three already now. We've
Oh
played
wow.
three, like kind of like after COVID. Um, yeah, they just happened quite quickly. So yeah, I mean, art's been around, as you know, forever, and he's kind of been around our circle for a long time. So when he joined, it really didn't feel weird, didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt very natural,
Yeah.
and he just slotted in super easily. Um, yeah, it was the weird thing was Ramon's been around in the band
Oh wow.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
he was part of the trek to the UK and back.
absolutely, yeah, and he's been the pulse for many years, like the driving force when um, when everyone else kind of, you know, uh,
Yeah.
gets down or loses interest, he's the guy pushing on and doing all the admin.
Someone's got
um,
to.
yeah, so that's a
But
big part,
yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, but Art's, I mean, he's a fantastic drummer, and he fits in very well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I saw. I think it was his first show with you guys. Um,
it was that at Eddington's.
Ellington's. Yeah, 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 yeah. And that was rad, man. That was super rad. And
Yeah,
then
uh,
Ramon still came and made a sort of a guest appearance. But I believe
yeah,
Ramon's actually heading back to the UK, and I'm
he's
wondering.
heading back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he'll still be around by the 3rd of September, and if we can't try and coerce him to do another guest appearance.
You know, he messaged me. He was supposed to come, and yeah, he's got a it's a family thing that he's got to go to. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I suppose in preparation
Ramon.
for leaving priorities, it's hard.
Yeah, it just happened to fall on the same day, but bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's actually heading back to Cardiff, which was he's doing a full circle, which is yeah, good for him.
Strange, strange, and amazing.
It's it's very strange and amazing. Yeah.
well, well, it's almost like a reflection of the full circle that Ill System has made in its own time.
Yep. Yeah. Lots of
Awesome.
circles happening.
Yeah. All right, Sean. Well, I think if you don't mind, I'd like to just quickly say a few words on behalf of some of our sponsors. But don't go away because I do have a final word I'd like to say to you. So if you can just bear
Absolutely.
with me this one moment. Um, Yeah, guys, we just wanted to say a shout out to Paul Boston Music. They've been behind Metal for Africa as a festival in Cape Town for the last 15 years, if you can believe it. They supply us with Laney amplification backline, Mapex drums, and for our little streaming venture, they've helped us out with Rode microphones and some Roland equipment. So, yeah, big ups, guys. Thank you so much for being behind us all these years, and we hope to have many more fruitful years. Sean,
Thanks, partners.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys have worked with him a bit as well, hey?
Yeah, I mean, Ramon used to work at Botnas.
Oh, you're
So
right. Yeah, for a
yeah.
long time.
Actually, Bobby also worked at Botnas. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yep.
I actually forget those details. Wait,
Yeah.
Bobby, Bob, Bobby was representing Roland as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking about full circles, eh? Yes,
Yeah.
life is full of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So Sean, with the upcoming festival, yeah. So we know to expect a bit of a fresh take on the drumming side with old Art Pereira on drums. Um,
Yep.
we know that your music making process as a band has gone through a bit of a genesis. So yeah, I'm expecting the same goodness that we always get. I'm wondering if there's anything about this particular festival, especially considering the whole post-COVID and all that jazz, that is special to you that you'd like to talk about in any shape, sense, or form?
Uh, that's a big
Putting
question.
you on the spot now.
Yeah. Actually, nothing comes to mind. But what I will say is, for those of you that haven't seen Eel System, you can expect just a really good time. What we like to do is just bring a bit of fun to the party.
Oh yeah,
We like the way I see it is on the surface we're a party band, so just come there and have the best time. Um, but underneath, like the lyrics are pretty heavy and pretty deep.
yeah,
So, but we don't preach it, so you can go and you can peel off those layers if you want to get down and get to the essence of the message. But yeah, that can also be done on another time with headphones.
oh yeah,
On the night, Metal for Africa, it's just a celebration of metal,
oh yeah.
and that's what it's about.
Praise be, brother. Cool, man. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. Your guys' set, I believe you're playing at 10 o'clock, if I have my facts correct. Um, so yeah,
I
that's
mean, if
pretty much like peak heat of the night. I think
okay,
it's gonna be
good.
next level, man. I really look forward to it.
Yeah, and Pat, thanks so much to you and to the rest of the team. You guys really put on an amazing show, and we jump to the opportunity to play with you guys every time.
Always a pleasure, dude. Like
Yeah.
our kind of philosophy on this is that as long as there's an audience who wants it and a community of musicians who helps us do it, like we're kind of in it for the long haul. And the pandemic did shaft us a bit, but look, we're here, and I suppose to some
We're
extent
here.
we've evolved a bit, yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Doodly
Um,
doodly.
no, the scene is still, we keep it going, eh?
That's it.
Yeah. Nice one, man.
All right, my brother. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Shot Patrick. Thanks, eh?
Cool, cool. Cheers for
Chat
now.
soon, man. Ciao. Bye.
Bye. All right, my friends, that was Sean Olsen from Ill System. They are definitely gonna have liquid sliding down the walls on that night. It's just one of those bands. And I think kind of what Sean was saying, uh, come there with open minds, open hearts, and you will live your best life on that night. So that night we're talking about is the 3rd of September. We're having Metal for Africa 2022 in Cape Town and in Joburg on the same night. Um, Entrance fee is 180 Rand if you buy your tickets online, metal4africa.com, 180 bucks a ticket. Or you're welcome for cash payments at the door. That's at both venues. That will be 200 Rand. Uh, and otherwise, yeah, lineups, check it out on social media. I'm chatting with bands pretty much every night between now and the festival. So, yeah, we'll catch you guys tomorrow night. I believe our guest tomorrow night is Rust. Rust, the guys from Botswana. We're going to be chatting with Stux, and he might have one or two of his bandmates with him from our beautiful neighboring headbanging country. Righto. Cheers, folks.